John Cena teases something interesting, and Hulk Hogan continues to feel the repercussions of what he has done to his legacy as it continues to fall off a cliff, and then some. And I'm going to give you my thoughts on some moments on Raw, some things on SmackDown, and a couple little news bits. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Starting off with last week's SmackDown. Honestly, there's not much to say. It was a chore to get through. It's 3 hours. And again, I'm going to say they could do so much more to fill those 3 hours than they have been doing. However, being that they are overseas currently and they don't have all of their talent available, it is kind of making it a little bit tough. And you can see it and feel it. And there's just not a whole lot they're going to be able to do about it, folks. There's other things they could have fleshed out more and things like that, or done differently, such as the main event segment with CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins. People are upset because they expected something more out of it. I didn't necessarily have a problem with it, more so because I kind of figured we're going to get more as we go down through the final weeks leading into WrestleMania. And we did get that on last night's Raw with CM Punk. So I wasn't too mad at it, but I could understand why people wanted a little more out of that. But if these guys want to kill each other, they're not going to monkey around, right? They're not going to fool around, go in there and just ham it up. They're going to want to kill each other. You know, you would think that Cody Rhodes would want to kill John Cena, but he has done nothing to signify that he wants to do that. He's all talking. He's just in there to have a chat. We're going to talk about that too. As far as the Wyatts and Alexa Bliss, not much more movement on the news that I already reported on, other than there's plans in place. There's something they have brewing for them. Uncle Howdy is definitely cleared and ready to return, but we've only got 4 weeks left, less than 4 weeks until WrestleMania. And then, they're not overseas, so they can't do anything until they come back. And I think the earliest date is the 4th of April? Which is a SmackDown when they come back. So it's a SmackDown. That's in their favor. But if they are going to do something and start it on April 4th, that's literally only 2 weeks. So you're telling me you're going to give me something that's literally a 2-week build when you could have been doing something this whole time, at least with Alexa or vignettes or something. You're telling me Bo couldn't sit there and film a vignette or something? I'm sure he could have. Okay, I'm sure he could have, but maybe they never planned on them being at WrestleMania. We wanted them at WrestleMania. We would love to see that entrance at WrestleMania, but they're just not going to give it to us, are they? Unless some kind of weird thing happens where Alexa does appear on WrestleMania and it all kind of comes together there, because they did say, well, there's a big thing going to happen at WrestleMania involving Alexa and the Wyatts, and that's going to be how they come together or whatever. I'm not seeing it so far. I'm not getting my hopes up for it whatsoever. But hey, if it happens, we'll be happy, won't we? That's all we can do, is just wait and see. There's really not much more we can do except for wait and see with our Wyatt 6 and Alexa Bliss. So not much more movement going on there. There has been a post by Jason Baker, him and Alexa in New York City. And people are wondering if that means something. Honestly, no, I don't think it does. And the only reason I say that is it would be more interesting if they were here in Pittsburgh. Okay, if that picture was taken and they were here in Pittsburgh or at his studio or something, I would be like, oh, okay. But the fact they were in New York, I don't know, because they were recently at Madison Square Garden, which she didn't even do anything, of course. So they were recently there and recently in New York, so I would assume that picture was taken there. Now, could they have been talking about things they're going to do in the future? Absolutely. But I highly doubt they were working on them at that moment. So talking about them, things they want to do in the future, yes, that probably was happening. Actually working on them, probably not necessarily in that location. But that's about all I got for the Wyatts and Alexa. I know it's nothing crazy or nothing big. We're just going to have to sit tight and wait. I know, it's frustrating. I've already vented about it. I'm not going to keep doing it because there's no point in getting worked up over it. There's just nothing we can do about it except sit back and wait. I'm going to go ahead and assume that they're going to basically reboot everything. Now that Alexa's back, they're not going to... I'm just assuming maybe that big thing will happen at WrestleMania. That's fine, but it won't be a match or anything. It'll probably just be a moment, perhaps. Maybe that happens at WrestleMania, but I'm more leaning towards this is going to start taking shape after WrestleMania, where they kind of want to reboot everything. All right. They're going to reboot the whole thing. Now that Alexa's back and everything else, it's going to be kind of a soft reboot and maybe do it right this time because there were some fumbles along the way with the last run. All right. Like we already talked about it. We're not going to get all fussy and everything else about it right now. So that's where I think that's headed. We're just going to have to wait and see, guys. Now, and as far as the rest of SmackDown last week, honestly, I don't know what to tell you. It's just tough to get through. It really is. I don't remember half of what happened. The Charlotte Flair, Tiffany side-by-side thing, you can tell Tiffany is not quite there yet in promo battles because Charlotte pretty much annihilated her in that, and it didn't make her look any good whatsoever because she really struggled in that. I think it's not a good look putting Tiffany in that spot when she's not that great of a promo. She's good at being a whiny heel, but she's not a whiny heel anymore. She's the babyface, so she does not come off sounding strong or anything like that. She struggles when she has to go up against someone like Charlotte Flair, who, you know, all of us we get sick of her. We get sick of Charlotte Flair, but you cannot deny that she is one of the greatest in the ring as far as the women go. And she can have her moments on the mic, and she did with Tiffany. She didn't let her get one up on her whatsoever. Tiffany really looked weak in that spot, and she's got some work to do in the promo department. That's all I can really say about that. And yeah, that's all I got to say about that SmackDown. There's nothing that stands out, nothing that really, oh my goodness, I got to talk about it. So we're going to move on to Raw. And on Raw, we had John Cena come out yet again. And people were like, you know, they liked the last week's, but they were like, wait a minute, he didn't mention the title, he didn't mention The Rock, this and that. Figured probably get some more of that this week. We did get some more of that this week, but we did get more of the same as well. We got the first half of the promo leaning into the same thing he was talking about last week, but expanding on that. But we did get some reasons by him for the whole 17 and why he wants it and what he wants to do with it. And basically he said he wants to take it from us because he wants to ruin wrestling. He knows that we hated the spinner belt. He made it a toy. We hated him for it. And he wants to be the last real champion. And there was just a whole thing he said about that where he's going to be the last real champion and that he's going to take the title and he's going to retire with it and take it home. That's what he said. Ironically enough, much like his match with CM Punk way back in the day in 2011, where CM Punk pretty much said the same thing. So now here he is saying that. Now, do I think he's actually going to win the title? I think he should win the title because for him not to win the title just makes everything seem so ridiculous to even go down this road. So yes, I do think he should win the title. Cody comes out and once again doesn't do a whole lot. He says, hey, you want the title? He lays it down in the middle of the ring, starts taking his shirt off and all that stuff. Cena wants nothing to do with it. He leaves the ring. Cody says something to Cena. Cena turns around, comes back. Then he says, nah, forget this. And then he leaves anyway. So Cody, you know, once again, even though this guy was his longtime friend and he viciously, savagely beat him down, Cody still has not wanted to come out there and attack him or at least ask him questions about, hey, man, we've been friends for years. And like none of that has been dug into whatsoever. And the only reason I think it hasn't is because they're avoiding Cena, maybe tearing him apart on the microphone, or maybe not avoiding it, but saving it until maybe after WrestleMania or maybe the week before WrestleMania, whatever the case may be. Maybe they're saving it for that because they really haven't had Cena talk to him whatsoever yet, which is a little bizarre, but that may be the reason why. So I'm going to wait and see what happens. We did get a little more this week with Cena, but not much. But we did get the title aspect of it and why he wants it and everything else. And yeah, so moving on to CM Punk. CM Punk comes out for a promo and again, once again, kills it. I feel like CM Punk, if it wasn't for CM Punk, this may not feel like WrestleMania because when CM Punk comes out there, he makes you feel it, like really feel it. The John Cena and Cody stuff it's compelling, but CM Punk just takes it to a whole nother level. So he comes out there, he's addressing the fact that Roman and Seth are not at the show, and he's disappointed, much like the fans are because of this, and that he will be on SmackDown to find them and deal with that. And what I found interesting is he said he wants to see the contract because they're going to have a contract signing, and he wants to see if there's something in the contract that gets him to where he wants to be. And we all know that's the main event of WrestleMania and probably the title in some aspect. Maybe it's just the main event of WrestleMania. I don't know. But I think it's both, the main event and the title. He wants to see if there's something in the contract that benefits him in that way, and maybe that's where the favor comes in. I don't know. We will just have to wait and see. However, I do like the fact that he mentioned that Roman or Seth have not beat him, and the only way they can beat him or have beaten him was one needed the other to do it. And he reminded them, I brought you in. Because he did. He brought the Shield in whenever back in the day. And kind of his muscle back up. And he kept denying, it wasn't me. But clearly it was. And eventually we found out it was. But yeah, so I like that he's bringing that to fruition because there you go. Long-term storytelling. You're bringing it into the fact that I brought you guys in. So all this makes sense. And see, when we get tidbits like that CM Punk gave us last night on Raw, that's what we need to really make this feel bigger than it already is. It's already big with the names involved, but him bringing that up, mentioning the contract, and there might be some interesting things involved in the contract, that takes it to the next level. Because what if the contract has, it'll be the main event. That's cool. He'll get his main event if it's the main event. What if it also has whoever wins gets a number one contendership against the champion or a title shot or whatever that may be, or added to the match of John Cena, Cody Rhodes. People may not like someone being added to the match, but you have to realize, do people really, do the WWE, does Triple H really want Cody to get pinned? And do they really want John Cena to get pinned in this moment where he's doing the things that he's doing? And one way around that would be having a third man in there and CM Punk gets pinned. Or CM Punk pins John Cena and walks away with the title and says to Cody, see, I told you, I wouldn't stab you in the back. I'd stab you in the front. And if CM Punk does get involved in this match, he would be doing it right in front, out in the open. Hey, I'm stabbing you in the front, dude. So there is something to think about there because there were words said between each other it's left things unsatisfied or unaddressed between those two, left for later down the line. And so it could lead to Punk or whoever wins, but I think it would be Punk if we're going to do this, added to the match of Cody and John Cena. It allows, if they want to go the route of having John win the title, which I still think should be what happens, because if you're going to go through all this heel stuff, it just seems silly to not do it. Then having Punk take the pinfall, it saves Cody from eating a pinfall and still looking strong. Will they do that? I don't know. Will people want that? Probably not. They probably just want the standalone one-on-one match, and I'm the same way. I'm just putting it out there that this is a very likely scenario, and to prepare yourself for anything because it could go this way. So just prepare yourself for funny business, and we'll find out what happens on Friday when that does come to fruition, whatever that may be. Also on Raw, we had Jay in a match. Had to have a mystery tag team partner, which ended up being his brother. And of course it was. I didn't think it was going to be anybody other than his brother because it made sense. They haven't tagged together in a while, a year and a half or something. So, of course, it was the Usos back together again. But then, after the match, when Gunther comes out to attack Jay, after he throws Jimmy out of the ring, Jay slips, falls, and Gunther gets him and then he, power bombs him, or he does whatever the hell he does to him. I don't know if it was power bomb, can't remember. So he does that. And last week he had tumbled over the ropes, and so he did his normal dive, but he didn't make it and tumbled over the ropes. And so now they're leaning into that because I think that one last week probably was legitimate. And because it looked legitimate with the way he reacted to it, but maybe it was. Maybe they meant to do that. Who knows? I have no idea. But the way it looked like it was legitimate. And I think now they're leaning into that to add another aspect to the story, which is good. It adds another aspect to the story because he's all distraught. He doesn't think he can beat Gunther. Of course, this week he slips, which this one was much on purpose, so that they could get to a backstage segment where Jimmy is firing him up and saying, "No, man, this Jay ain't it. I need the main event Jay. I need the right-hand man Jay." The one says, "I don't give a damn what the tribal chief says." He didn't say that, but I remember when Jay said that, and it was great. He wants that Jay. And then Gunther comes around, and Jimmy gets in Gunther's face, saying what he's saying. Gunther says, Jimmy says, "I want you in a match next week." Gunther's like, "Oh, yeah?" And then gets smart with him. Jimmy smacks the ever-living shit out of him and walks away. Gunther's smiling because of this, because he knows he's getting under their skin. And so that's set up for next week. I think Gunther needs to absolutely annihilate Jimmy and just not even have it be a match. Just have him annihilate him, just chairs, smashing him, put him through tables, any kind of stuff you can do to decimate him, to really make this personal between Gunther and Jay, and have Gunther destroy Jimmy, smash him with chairs, everything else. I think that needs to happen to really put this thing to the next level because it needs something. And this little tidbit of Jay having doubt and slipping and falling and all that stuff is adding an interesting element, and I like that they're doing that. So adding Jimmy to the mix, having Jimmy get beat to ever-living shit out of and just pummeled by Gunther to really amp things up is a good thing if we can do that. So hopefully they do. Then we have the main event. Well, I'm going to touch on this. Lyra Valkyria retained her Intercontinental title. I'm not going to go through everything here because it's just, keeping the wheels moving until we get to WrestleMania. But she did retain her Intercontinental title. And Braun Breaker retained his Intercontinental title against Penta because, of course, Judgment Day interferes. They think they're going to recruit Penta. Of course they're not going to recruit Penta. Finn Balor comes out. He's destroying Braun Breaker. And Penta they're trying to recruit Penta. They give him a chair so that he can beat on him or whatever, but Penta throws the chair at Dom, then kicks the chair, hitting Dom. Then, of course, they attack Penta, and they leave them all laying in the ring. Judgment Day is standing tall, Finn Balor, Dom, and Carlito in the ring. And quite frankly, can we please do something with Finn Balor other than this? Jesus Christ! I am so sick and tired of seeing Finn Balor in this bullshit role when he deserves so much more. This guy was the first ever Universal Champion and had it taken away from him 24 hours later because of a goddamn injury from Seth Rollins, of all people. Had it taken away from him, and I know it probably wouldn't have been a long run, but geez, it would have been longer than 24 hours. And we never got to see that. And ever since then, he's just been relegated to bullshit. There's been some good moments here and there, but my God, can we move on from this? I hope that seeing the hints of the demon in the background is a sign that we're going to move on from this because it's absolutely driving me nuts. I understand things are kind of set already, so he's getting put in the Intercontinental title match, but he should get the Intercontinental title, in my opinion. He should get the Intercontinental title and do it in a way that gets him away from the Judgment Day, quite frankly. I'm sick and tired of him being in this Judgment Day. He needs to be away from it. They've already set up a rift and some tension and stuff like that. Let's get him the hell away from the Judgment Day and going after bigger and better things. And if he is going to be the Intercontinental Champion, let's make him a dominant Intercontinental Champion, much like others have been recently. That I would be okay with. So hopefully Finn Balor is going to come out of this with something to say for it. I don't think Penta needs the title yet. Penta just came in. I don't think we need to put the title on him just yet. I mean, look at the machine guns, you know. They come in and get the titles right away, and now people are like, okay, whatever. And now people are just like, whatever. You don't want to do that. Penta doesn't need the title right now, all right? Give it to Finn. Let Finn hold the title for a while. Braun Breaker's been great, but I think Finn Balor needs to have that title and get away from the Judgment Day. That's just my thoughts on that, all right? So that's my thoughts on just some aspects that happened on Raw. But we got some news here. I'm going to give you some news real quick. And this comes from TJRWrestling.net. John Cena drops interesting WWE tease. Now, this was before Raw, so nothing really happened different on Raw, so I don't know that it means anything. But you never know. You never know. We still have the big entrance at WrestleMania. We don't know what's going to happen there. So it says, let me go down here and find where it starts. Fans are speculating, however, that a recent Instagram post from legendary superstar has hinted at a change to his presentation, with Cena taking to Instagram to post the CD cover from his 2005 album, You Can't See Me. The album, which peaked at number 15 on the Billboard 200 charts, features Cena's iconic current theme, The Time Is Now. So he could be teasing that he's going to use one of the songs off of there. And I think I mentioned there is a song on there. It's not the Bad Bad Man one. It's a different one. I'll have to get the name of it exactly. I can't remember right off the top of my head. I'd have to hear it and see the name again. But it would be perfect for like a more mature, older, angry Cena. We'll talk about that in a different video. We'll figure it out. Anyway, but he could be hinting at that. That is very true. However, John Cena could retire as a heel, according to Big Daddy Cool. That's right. Big Daddy Cool says he should retire as a heel. Many were surprised at the timing of John Cena's recent heel turn, given his limited number of months remaining before hanging up the boots for the final time. Whilst most observers believe that Cena will once again return to fan favorite status before he closes the door on a legendary career, WWE Hall of Famer Kevin Nash feels that the 16-time WWE champion would make a greater impact if he saw out his career as a villain. So, not much more said there. I'm sure that there's more on Nash's podcast that he probably talked about that. But Nash seems to think he should retire as a villain. I don't see anything wrong with that at all. A lot of people want him to go back to babyface before he retires. I just don't see the point. I don't see the point. He's still selling the t-shirts. He's still selling the hats and the armbands. Don't even matter. Don't even matter. I think that would actually work if he retired as a heel. You should just let him retire as a heel. Let him go out the way that he did definitely not come in. So, or whatever. I don't know what I'm saying. You know what I mean? On to the next news bit. And this one, it's sad. This one's coming from WrestleZone.com. Sad stuff, because if you grew up in the 80s like me and you watched wrestling, Hulk Hogan was an iconic figure. Was Hulk Hogan my favorite? No, Hulk Hogan was not my favorite. I liked Hulk Hogan. He wasn't bad or anything, but Macho Man was more like my thing. Rowdy Roddy Piper was more my thing. As we moved through the years, Ultimate Warrior. I liked Ultimate Warrior, even though he was absolutely ridiculous and didn't wrestle for shit. Still loved the presentation of the Ultimate Warrior and really liked his whole presence, aura, as the kids say. So, yeah, and then moving into the 90s, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, of course. Bret Hart being my favorite over Shawn Michaels, even though I liked them both. And I liked Kevin Nash, Diesel, and all that stuff. WCW, all kinds of guys from WCW that I liked that kind of went back and forth between WWE and WCW. Hulk Hogan was never really at the top of my list, but he was an iconic figure, and it was shocking when he did the NWO turn. However, what's sad is that through all that, he's managed to take his entire legacy and flush it down the toilet. And it just keeps going further and further down the septic tank as the days go by. Because he does things that don't help him whatsoever. He makes up horrendous stories and lies and lies and lies. And is caught in many lies. And just continues to bury himself. He's destroying his own legacy. And it's come to this now. It's come to this. According to WrestleZone.com, Hulk Hogan's Real American Suite package, the super expensive one at WrestleMania 41, has been pulled. That's right. It is no longer there. Hulk Hogan's Real American Suite package has been removed from WWE's WrestleMania 41 website. WWE and On Location had been offering the Real American Suite package for WrestleMania 41 weekend in Las Vegas. It was originally listed for $9,500, and the package included a spot in the premium luxury suite on both nights of WrestleMania 41, all-inclusive food and beverages, Hulk Hogan-themed souvenirs, and a meet and greet with Hogan himself. WWE and On Location reduced the prices to $6,950, so $6,950, but now the package has been removed from the site. The link for the package leads to an oops. Looks like we had a false start message. WrestleZone will provide more information as it becomes available. So now, you had this big package expecting big things. Not going to happen when he's dragged his name through the mud over and over again. And now there was something that happened over in, I can't remember what city or country it was recently in the last few days with Mark Henry or something, and Hogan was getting booed there. I don't even think Hogan was there. Just the music played or something, or maybe he was there. I have no idea. But Hogan was getting booed. Something Hogan related, was getting booed immensely. And it's like, yeah, no. They had this thing up there, and then they reduced the price to $6,950. Like, oh, yeah, we didn't sell any. Let's reduce the price. Probably still didn't sell any, and they're not going to sell any. That's pretty much what they're saying. Because Hogan has managed to take his legacy and flush it down the toilet. And it's sad. It really is. It really is sad. Again, never was my personal favorite. I have wrestlers that I hold in much higher regard than him. But I know the history. I've seen how iconic he was, Hulk Hogan in the wrestling business and all that stuff. And to see it go down as miserably as it's going down is just sad. Absolutely just sad. So, oh well, what are you going to do? Well, that's all I got for you this week, guys. If something happens throughout the week that's like, oh my goodness, then I'll be back to talk about it like I usually do. If nothing really happens, then I'll see you next Tuesday for another podcast right here on House of Riddict. And with that said, I will catch you all down the road.